And welcome back to Berlin for our coverage of Game 2 between Giants and ROCCAT. And if Giants keep up the memento they had from Game 1, it could end here. How do ROCCAT bounce back, Stress? I like the concept of the Nocturne Shen, but unfortunately it wasn't executed well enough.
The Nocturne Shen had its uses. Honestly, though, I feel like putting Maxlaw in a position where he's like, okay, guys, we got one play. We're just going to try that one. And that's all he can really do. Actually, kind of wastes a lot of Maxlaw's strengths. He tends to be, you know, when we saw him on Giants last split, was pretty good at knowing where to be on the map, to kind of move around and outmaneuver the enemy team and the enemy jungler. So I'm interested to see whether they put Maxlaw on a slightly different role in this game, because outside of the game, we've heard quite a lot about how he was the jungler for this team, to fit this team because of the way he has his attitude is about the game. Very positive, very good outlook. So if they can get him onto a good champion now, maybe we'll see a bit of a turnaround.
Yeah, and they're going to need that attitude. You know, it was a tough game.
Yeah.
And regardless of how it looked and the fact that Giants were very ahead, etc., like, ROCCAT didn't just roll over and play dead. They still looked for opportunities. They finally found that one pretty good team fight in the mid lane where they comboed everything, the Shen, the Nocturne, the Rise. And that time they made it work, but unfortunately they were too far behind for it to be impactful.
So this time ROCCAT selecting blue side has meant that Giants are forced to ban out the Rengar, the Camille, the LeBlanc, so they're going to be gone. ROCCAT continue the trend of blue side Zyra bans, not wanting to first pick it themselves. Obviously, if they were to leave it open, Giants would very likely take that on the first rotation. And again, Malzahar on blue side.
So we have to assume then Kha'Zix on the blue side for ROCCAT?
Either that or Jace.
Okay.
Really is the thing. I mean, Kha'Zix, Maxlaw, I would like to see him play that. It's a little bit more focused towards, you know, dominating from that jungle role, and that's what I would like to see. So likely, Rengar going to get banned here, unless Giants want to force the one-for-one trade and have ROCCAT pick up one and take the other, in which case they could look to take away something, you know, that they kind of struggled with in the last game. Looking at the actual picks, I don't really think there's too much that you really fear from the last game.
I mean, Shen is something we're actually seeing banned on red side. Instead of Rengar, you know, allowing one of those power picks to go through, and now whichever one you get, the other is available.
Yeah, so the thing is, now ROCCAT have to answer the question of what do you prefer yourself. Obviously, Rengar is everybody's highest priority, so Giants don't even have to pick the Kha'Zix up here if they feel like strong picks like Varus, the Karma, if they want it again on this rotation, could very well be a higher priority for them, but Karma for hustling doesn't always fit. May very well be Kha'Zix and AD carry on this rotation, and then support as last.
I sincerely hope it is Kha'Zix, because I want the hunt to happen.
Well, they don't need to pick Kha'Zix here. They can pick their AD carry, and last rotation of Phase 1, the Kha'Zix, which will end up giving them a little bit more decision-making power in this first phase. That Maokai coming out, while I think you could see it as being a surprise, Giants have basically said, okay, we're picking top lane this phase. I don't want this Maokai banned away. Flaxish says, okay, my TPs were great. I feel like I can have impact now. With Shen banned away, this is a significant pick for the top lane. Yeah,
really important. And I guess the fact is, you don't need to rush your jungle pick unless you want to hide a pick, right?
Ooh, this out of ROCCAT could be rough, because they're either losing out on AD carry or top lane, and they're actually going to lose out on both. Giants right here could very well go Syndra, but also at the same time, it's a good force, because ROCCAT have basically said you either won't get Kha'Zix, or you won't get Syndra, or you won't get your choice of support coming from this either. So ROCCAT kind of trying to force out two different roles. We haven't seen too many teams do this.
Why is it that was the force? What was the signal when ROCCAT locked in that Karma and the Rise?
Well, ROCCAT basically, at this point, knowing that Giants wanted that Kha'Zix as the last rotation, taking away the mid lane pool now. They want Betsy on something comfortable. That Rise is available for him, and Giants are trying to take away the top laners as well. Likely ROCCAT can end up just playing Rumble if they want it, or they could end up with a Nautilus if Giants don't first rotate it here. Corki or Cassiopeia very well could be these last two bans, or the last ban for ROCCAT if they want to continue the mid lane pinch.
Yeah, Corki is definitely something Knight has fallen back to many times. He could look to run the Talia once more if he wants to, and it is the Casio, as you mentioned.
So if Giants don't pick Nautilus here, it is a pick that Faxi could run. If that Nautilus obviously would go to Hustlin, that was what he played in the previous game. So ROCCAT are in a situation where likely Rumble would be one option for top lane for damage. And we spoke about it in game one, that it isn't meta. Just because it ain't meta doesn't mean Hyana won't want to play some Sivir. Good pushing power, good at engage when it comes to setting up the rest of the team, getting, you know, Maxlor into the fight on Rengar.
What else would you pair with this? I mean, this is a gotta-go fast comp. And obviously, anything that wants to engage and play team fights would work, and I guess that's why the Rumble's locked in, does well into the Maokai.
Could be Talia coming out again for Knight, if they just want to run a very similar composition to the previous game. Very, very similar.
Yeah,
indeed.
Gonna be a lot of options. I mean, for Giants last time round, would it be pretty much the same, actually?
Yeah, if the Talia comes through, it would be. Orianna is another option that they're hovering over. I like this. It kind of defends a little bit against the Rengar more than a Talia would. Talia is a little bit more difficult to get Rengar out of the fight. Typically, you're dead before the shove ever comes out.
And also, there's no real global pressure now from ROCCAT. Yes, you can have the teleport, of course, but in the previous game, it was Shen and Nocturne. This time around, a lot more wombo combo for that team fight. Nautilus and Maokai and Kha'Zix, ball delivery systems. Giants have got, I think, what feels like a well-rounded comp. ROCCAT have got a, we want to kill you in an instant comp. So much damage.
Which didn't work out too well in game one for them. So ROCCAT, when you look at this setup, high amount of damage on the top side, at least Rengar Rumble output a fair amount. ROCCAT, they're going to be able to shove the bot lane as well with the Sivir, with the Karma, but I do wonder if the Nautilus, if the Maokai start getting too tanky again. We've not got too much in the way of tank busting. Sivir does good damage late game. Yeah. Late game, when you get those crit ricochets all the way through the team, but we'll have to watch it.
On the bright side for Hyanin, the Giants team composition, which you can see on the screen, kind of wants to bundle up and deathball and run at you as a group, right? Maokai, Nautilus, Kha'Zix on the front line. So there's going to be a lot of options for Ricochet and that Boomerang Blade.
Yeah, there are going to be a lot of options, but Hyanin is basically one of the only AD carries in the world that, with both Varus and Jhin available, defaults out to Sivir. We've seen the Caitlyn, we've seen the Ezreal from other AD carries, but haven't seen too much in the way of Sivir. Only a handful of games in 2017.
Yeah, long time. Patch 7.1, not a lot of Sivir. I can see 1-2 games over in LPL. And we'll see whether or not Hyanin can play. I mean, just for reference, Hyanin actually has 35 career games, professional on stage with Sivir. His next closest is Corki with 19. So it is far and away his most experienced champion. It's just a little strange. And Maxlor, back in the day from the UK scene, Fedius was telling us that he was known as a Rengar one-trick, pre-rework, etc. Now he's got his hands first pick in the new meta. Arguably the strongest jungler in the game right now.
I like the most UK junglers we've seen on an EU LCS stage at one point would say their Rengar was good, and then they kind of stopped saying it. So we'll see whether Maxlor lives up to it, whether he can follow in the footsteps of Impaler's Rengar all the way back on Super Hot Crew. That's a long time ago.
I mean, there were small steps.
Yeah.
So
the problem with that was it was always that top lane wanted to play it, because we had a true Rengar one-trick up in the top lane in that team. Anyway, that was a long time ago. History lesson is not necessary on this one. And I mean, what does Hyanin have to offer on this Sivir as well? Has the spell shield, can absorb a lot of that Ashe engage that's going to come out. Obviously, Sivir, Karma, high movement speed, focus on utility for the rest of the team. And unlike the last game, junglers are starting both on the top side of the map, so we'll see whether they end up doing the path all the way down to the bot side or whether they come back up for top lane. This is the kind of lane where you'll see more impact earlier on. Rumble into Maokai. Typically, Rumble should get ahead.
all right, should get ahead, pushing power in his favor with that Flame Spitter. Keeping an eye, missing a few of those CS, trading already. Actually missing a lot of those CS. Not the most comfortable right now, but we'll have to track how much pressure he puts on. Of course, this is going to open up options for Memento to run Foxy down. And obviously, if Max Law is around, that savagery battle can maybe turn something around. Good damage already, though.
Yeah, good damage. You can see Foxy just sitting in the danger zone is going to push out. This is important for Widid to get a little bit of vision control. Obviously, will now spot out Memento.
And of course, this Siva Karma lane, the Ricky Bobby wanna go fast duo, is gonna put a lot of pressure onto Hustlin's Nautilus again.
I haven't heard that one in a while.
Good film.
Yeah.
Talladega Nights. If you haven't seen it, go watch it now. But Hikyu and Hustlin, they got away with that laning phase in game 1 because of good counter engage when they got jumped on. Betsy and Knight continue to trade up. Do you expect them to have that same possibility this time around without really that kind of team composition?
Yeah, there's always that possibility. There's also a possibility for Foxy to get ganked. He should know that Memento could be topside right now after he got spotted out on Wolves, heading up towards top, but Memento doesn't go into the lane. Obviously, Flexish signaling that Foxy had dropped out of the lane for a little while, likely that it was warded. So Memento just goes to steal away some of the enemy jungle. Gives Maxwell not a whole lot of options on his second path now as Maxwell backed away.
All right, so Vision, you can see that ROCCAT ward just in front.
Oh,
Foxy gonna get spotted up. Flash is available. Blast Cone has been optimized. Arcane Smash comes down. Defensive Flash. Flash forward for Memento. That's an isolated Foxy. The shield comes up. Memento tanks a shot, and they trade flashes. Top for jungle.
Fairly important there that Foxy got himself into that overheat, got the shield on, and was able to kind of dare Giants to say, come under the tower, because you're going to end up dying from it. I don't know whether Flaxish even would have been able to get the kill if he had gone. So Foxy burns his flash, as you said, Memento burns his as well, but a repeat gank could spell really much the end for this top lane if Foxy ends up dying on it.
It's very important not having that flash in a matchup that really wants to push, you know? Additional threats to Foxy now because Memento showed top. Maxlaw goes in for an invade. He's already up 10 CS. It's only 200 gold for now, though. But more importantly, it's denying that camp from Memento.
And this is what these pushing lanes can transition into, is that ability to easily control the enemy jungle with vision. You can see topside a lot of wards, spot out Memento again. Rise is pushing, top lane Rumble's pushing, even bot lane is pushing against Giants. And if this ends up having significant tower damage, like we've seen a couple of times, that's the kind of platform ROCCAT can use to build into first tower blood. If they can get damage down, the problem is, against the Nautilus, against an Ashe, that's a lot of crowd control that comes out. If you step out of the comfort zone of your own minion wave, you can pretty easily be engaged upon.
Yeah, they've actually got relatively good clear if needed, right? The volley and the Riptide does a lot of work. And Maxlaw's looking to do work in the mid lane. Betsy's ghosted up, Bowler Strike, and the flash from Knight, but 2 summoners for 1. And now all of a sudden, Foxy's the target top lane, Knight's the target bot lane. Hyanin gets a very good boomerang blade. No summoners in the bottom used.
Knight had to flash out of that. Even though the bowler had not hit him, still good choice to just flash out. Does leave him vulnerable, much like Foxy is in the top lane. But we haven't seen a repeat gank from Memento on that one. You can see Flaxish is now pushing back out. This is a lot because Flaxish wants to back himself out of the lane by the looks of it. Fairly low health, out of potion stacks, who's trying to just force the wave back under the enemy tower.
A little bit earlier, Stress, you alluded to just the amount of damage that ROCCAT has on their composition. I think their team comp sort of comes online significantly earlier than Giants.
Oh, yeah.
Orianna needs time to scale, and Hikyu's Ashe needs a couple of items. But obviously, the synergies when ROCCAT begin to group up become very obvious. Early flash from Flaxish. She stood on a ward, so Foxy wants to try and interrupt it, he can. And then, of course, we need to see whether or not ROCCAT can group their champions together to look for that tower, like you mentioned.
And it's a good exchange in the top side. Foxy using that ultimate knows that with his teleport unavailable, he's not really going to have too much use for that in the next couple of minutes. So throws it out to push Flaxish back, push the wave back out as well, and try and punish Flaxish for staying in lane at fairly low health. You're never really going to be able to dive him now that his ultimate is available, but still takes a little extra time out of Flaxish before he can back away.
Yeah. Slower start this time around, 7 minutes in. Huge team fight broke out around this time frame, but the comps don't really look towards that. Flaxish is yet to back, actually. Is now sitting in lane, despite some of the pressure. And Foxy looking at teleport timers. Really want to see who's going to be the first to make a move. You know, ultimates locked for the top half of the map. There's just so many, like, options for where you could go.
Yeah.
It just depends on who steps over the line.
Yeah, there's obviously that kind of boiling pot now of ROCCAT and Giants. ROCCAT have fairly significant increases in damage output and the ability to fight at 6 and 11. 11 far stronger as well, so for that level 11 mark, we'll see if we get there. Memento is level 6, has that evolved claws for Taste Their Fear.
Yeah, a lot of damage that comes from that. So Maxlaw had some support from Wadid on a potential invade, reading Memento and Hustlin's movement, so that was very good by them. BF swords and a couple long swords for Hyanin, boots instead for Hikyu. As we keep playing that wave clear game, and we talked a lot about like the ROCCAT sort of team style and the ROCCAT selection process, etc. On Giants' side, it feels like they've got a lot of, you know, good individual skilled players, and I want to see what their potential is over the course of a split, because last summer was really sort of Giants' strongest showing yet during a regular season and making it to playoffs, etc.
Yeah, a lot of it was the introduction of Knight, Maxlaw into the lineup. Did a good job, and we'll see if Maxlaw can continue it. This is against a Maokai who has his ultimate up, but oh, that's a lot of damage.
It is indeed not the strongest equalizer. Foxy forced to flash away.
He's still alive.
Betsy's coming up to help if he needs to. First blood picked up by Foxy, and the scrap shield gets him out. It wasn't clean, but they got their man.
And now the trade on this is Giants on the bot side are taking the Infernal Drake, so it ended up being the kill in the top side. Hard worked against the Maokai under tower, but overall I think Giants, unless this tower falls, will come out in their minds on top. That Infernal Drake will go a long way.
It's definitely an investment. You know, it's not going to show right now, but having that Infernal Drake, the later the game goes, the happier they'll be. ROCCAT, short-term win.
Yep.
First blood onto the lane that really wants to be pushing and playing aggressively. A rumble with Sork Shoes and Haunting Guys into the Spectre's Cowl. Flaxish gonna have a tough time.
And you can see the focus for ROCCAT in this bottom lane. I mean, Hyanin clearly feels like Hikyu hasn't really been pushing him out too much or pressuring out much at all. And in that, this matchup goes, okay, well, you've got Ashe, we'll take the Sivir. Basically saying to Wadid, you've played with him, have you played with my Sivir?
Yes.
And Wadid's like, I've played with pretty good Sivirs. It's okay, don't worry. So for Hyanin, I want to see what he can do on his signature pick.
Yeah.
Faxi does have his teleport available for a bot lane play if we end up seeing that, and Equalizer is nearly up as well. So ROCCAT may aim for that bottom side if they want to go aggressive under the tower against Giants, whereas Flaxish, we saw him use his teleport to get back up to the top lane to save top tower.
3 minutes at least before Flaxish can teleport. Betsy still has Realm Warp available. Maxlaw's going to have his ultimate, so there is a window of opportunity. ROCCAT have got a very good advantage, 1,500 gold. Top lane tower is almost dead. Bottom lane tower is being pushed down. This is what the composition is sort of meant to do. And good sidestep from both Hyanin and Wadid.
Yeah, this is the entire focus of Sivir Karma, is just push, 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 get damage down, but the damage doesn't always translate into big wins unless the junglers come down and help them out. So you can see both junglers on the bottom side, Memento, just sticking around just in case something kicks off down there, but everybody now has their ultimate available. And that's one of the points where ROCCAT have started to become a little more dangerous in this early game. Already 1 kill on the board. A good lead for themselves as well.
Yeah, I mean, look at the CS advantages. You know, plus 10 top, plus 25 in the jungle, that's about 600 gold. Nearly 20 in the mid lane, 10 in the ADC. If you actually switch over to the gold really quick, it's plus 600 in the top lane, plus 600 in the jungle. There you go. Like, these are just incremental advantages, which then ROCCAT can use to push the lead further. It's 2,000 gold. Now, a team fight around either a tower or a dragon will snowball that further. What Giants don't want to do is allow that to happen. Giants really need to stall the game now, play for some item break points, and then look to start their picks with that Ash Arrow.
Speaking of items on that bottom side, Hyanan just picks up the Essence Reaver. We'll see if it's the static Shiv that he ends up going for. Seen that a lot on Sivir throughout the years. High amounts of wave clear. Basically, you one-shot the wave with a Ricochet and that static Shiv. So we'll see that push will continue when they get back to the bottom side. And the fact that Hikyu and Hustlin are recalling may very well indicate that they're just going to send them top and concede this tower right now because it's already dead. And you can see they're heading for top lane. This is Giants making a conscious decision to try and get a little bit ahead of the play on top side once they lose the bot side tower.
Yeah, they're going to give up that first tower blood though. Hyanan and Wadid already in lane, starting to push forward. Some shenanigans being set up around the top. Maxlaw actually going to need to move up as we take a look at Hikyu. Crystal Arrow catches onto Foxy. There's support. There's a fight in the river as well. Foxy may be able to get the Equalizer down. He does. That's a good cutoff. Flaxish is being burnt down. Summoner heal used. Foxy gets locked down with a Twisted Advance. He doesn't have... Oh, he's got Flash. A few seconds longer. Flashes away. Too late. Hikyu gets a kill for Giants. I didn't see what happened to Maxlaw or Betsy, but they've blown their summoner spells.
Oh, and they would just use Ripped Realm Warp as well. Couldn't quite get in there. ROCCAT did push down the bot side tower in response. His top tower push coming out from Giants, but ROCCAT are on to the inner tower. Maxlaw is crossing to bot lane.
Tower first blood to ROCCAT. Giants get their first kill and their first tower, but it's at the cost of an inner turret. ROCCAT, they've got two. This is a good trade for ROCCAT.
Yeah, ROCCAT and Hyanan clearly, just focusing on that tower game on the bot side. Hikyu comes up to the top side. Good arrow did connect with Faxi, but it took him so long to kill him thanks to that Equalizer. The Giants got stalled out a little on that play, and ROCCAT were able to respond fairly well on the bottom lane. So,
oh, was that just sidestepped?
Looked like it.
Yeah.
Looks like Betsy just stepped aside.
Yeah, manages to get out of range of the shockwave. So Knight, mechanically speaking, not looking as good as his Taliyah. In game one, Knight's Taliyah hit what looked like every single seismic shot. Really good mind placement. This time around, a little less so on the Orianna.
So this is the arrow, comes out, hits Faxi. Maxlaw was dueling with Hustling for a very long time. That's Rengar for you after the rework. So Flaxish was able to take down Faxi, who barely had his flash available, like now. And the arrow connected.
Flash, like simultaneous.
Yep.
All right,
Giants are pushed up.
Is available for Maxlaw. Foxy teleported in for this one. Equalizer comes down. Hikyu gets shut down where he stands. Now Memento's trying to run for his life. Has a flash available. Maxlaw leaps forward using that savagery and the bowler strike. Turns his attention to the Rift Scuttler. 2 easy kills for ROCCAT.
And this is what happens when ROCCAT have a little bit more fluidity about their game, where Maxlaw has more options on the map. They're going to get Mountain Drake. It's a culmination of things. Slightly stronger picks out of that jungle for ROCCAT. The top lane that is a little bit more comfortable for Faxi as well has that damage that they can play around. That play is all set up actually weirdly from the shockwave in mid lane. Knight caught the minions with it, so it clears the wave out, meaning ROCCAT couldn't go to mid lane to push it through. They would have got stalled out by the time Giants got back. However, Giants then overextend in the bottom lane.
Oh! Memento!
Oh!
Why? Memento just donates a gift to Hyanan.
I don't think he was expecting to get hit quite so hard by Hyanan. Hyanan...
He hasn't seen Sivir in so long,
he
forgot what a boomerang blade does.
Yeah, he did. He did forget about it. And this is a play on
I thought this was going to be a
bottom
replay of the kill. I was like, that's brutal, guys.
This is Giants overextending. You can see mid lane had already been cleared out a while before, so Faxi took a lot of damage but got Equalizer out in response. Hustlin not tanky enough to survive through that damage, and ROCCAT just take a fairly convincing fight on the bot side just from Giants overextending.
Yeah, very good start to the game this time around for ROCCAT. Given some power picks, given a team composition that, as we mentioned, comes online and becomes very strong earlier than the Giants comp. And now ROCCAT have got a 5,000 gold advantage. You wouldn't know if you took the team names off. It was the same team, they're using their comp well. Their teleport down bottom was good. And now ROCCAT needs to do the next step and push into Giants territory.
Yeah, that mid lane as well was Memento stepping just into the Boomerang Blade and getting crit at the same time. So Hyanan clearly comfortable on this Sivir.
I'd hope so.
Fairly heavily up. I mean, we haven't seen Sivir in a while.
Yeah.
At least not here in Europe. This is what she does. She sits mid, ricochets the wave, puts a Boomerang Blade through it, and there's the entire wave gone. And now they push your tower in.
1,600 gold up, by the way.
Yep.
So that's the 30 CS, the 2 additional towers, obviously the 2 assists as well. And that's allowing Hyanan just to obliterate the waves and keep pressure on Giants.
Quantifiably, that's the zeal difference, and you know, a little extra pocket change alongside it as well. The Dorans was sold by Hiku to allow him to get that dagger that kind of adds up a little bit in his inventory. You can see that Hyanan fairly comfortable in the game, and you know, now we turn towards the utility that comes with it as well. Level 11 has been reached by everybody really, but Maxwell, when you look at damage dealers on ROCCAT, so they have a fair amount of power.
Yeah, they really do. And I'm going to do one of the caster tropes that always happens around this time, where we go, don't forget, guys, the
Trinity
Giants
Force power
comp...
spike. Oh,
no, not
sorry.
yet. No, different game. The Giants composition has got a lot of scaling on their side.
Oh, okay.
You know, Maokai, Orianna, Kha'Zix, Nautilus even, to an extent. They're all going to get better and better and better. And once they can survive the insta-burst, they can turn around.
Yeah.
But good luck, because they have to deal with, well, a lot. You know, the number of options, the flanking possibilities, and now even Maxwell is going to pick up that buff. If he can find isolated targets and be Rengar, like it wasn't difficult enough dealing with Rengar on this patch.
Nice little equalizer down in the bottom lane, takes away the minion wave, or the majority of it, which is going to slow Giants down again. That means mid tower is now under significant threat from this Sivir. It is only Knight that stands there, but Giants want to regroup. They caught with it.
They do indeed. Hiku gets exhausted. Here comes Memento. The targets were dead. He flashes away first. Knight is ghosted to get into the fight. And looking at summoner spells, heal and ghost for Giants. Hyanan was heal, and then Wadid's dual summoners.
Yeah, dual summoners were popped, but Betsy, meanwhile, top lane is still pushing away. Giants going all the way from bot lane, now running up towards top. Betsy will back away before that ever really has any kind of impact on this game.
Stress, look at the level difference. Flaxish level 11, Foxy level 13. Big advantage there, and actually, Betsy, Hyanan, and Wadid all one above their opponents. Just more experience, more farm. You can see it on the CS score on the bottom. And that's where this gold lead comes from.
More items as well. While you're looking at the bottom of the screen, obviously Freddy has joined the support staff for ROCCAT. Keep your eyes on the bottom part of the screen, because I want to talk about Hyanan's Phantom Dancer. We spoke about how Static Shiv in days gone by has been the go-to for Sivir, just for that big first hit with the additional crit chance as well. So Phantom Dancer, Hyanan wants to stay alive a little bit longer. If Memento's jumping at him and Huston's jumping at him, Flaxish jumping at him, try and just survive longer, try and kite back, get as much damage reduction out of there as well as the crit chance that it will bestow.
Definitely going to be, well, it's going to be important for Hyanan to stay alive, but he's not the only one that needs to kill people, you know, like Giants have such a tough time. If they try to focus Hyanan, then they get burned alive and killed by Rengar. If they try to, you know, shut down Betsy's Rise, who's now over like 2,000 HP and going to be working towards that Archangel soon, then Rengar and Sivir kill him. Like, there's so many problems to deal with.
Well, the perfect team fight for Giants looks like Betsy and Hyanan standing close enough to each other that when Memento jumps in with the ball, Knight shockwaves through, Flaxish finishes him off, and you know, takes the fight with Hiku's crowd control as well. That's what Giants are looking for. The problem is, all Betsy and Hyanan have to do is stand at two different sides of the fight and make sure that they're just outputting damage onto at least one or two members from Giants. They caught with it.
Wadid, no flash, remember. He was caught in the mid lane. Hyanan's going to get followed by the depth charge. Equalizer comes down, flash engage onto Foxy. He flashes away defensively. The ROCCAT squad is split, and they give up 2 kills to Giants.
They catch out with it. That's another way of doing it, if you can catch out a squishy. Look at ROCCAT though. taking their time in the mid lane. There wasn't a minion wave. This is going to be a realm warp out if they want to get this turret. They're going to have to, but they can't get the turret either. Didn't really have the time to commit to it. Knight and Hustlin were a little fast on the rotation from Dragon.
Yeah, so Giants not giving up yet. Fighting around Dragon spawns has sort of been the tempo of the game, actually.
Yeah.
That's 3 in a row now where something has happened. Maxlore and Betsy just chilling. Betsy actually used the blast cone to get to safety, and Maxlore going to start the red buff. He's going to be surrounded. Shockwave can't be disabled. And Maxlore able to escape.
Gets out of there with his life. Betsy now knows that his trading prowess against Knight suddenly goes through the roof. He's able to effectively trade without really worrying too much about any kind of massive damage spike.
I'm disappointed with Knight's Orianna. 23 minutes into the game, 196 CS. Yes, there was pressure in the mid lane. But for a guy who just looked so phenomenal last year and whatnot, he just doesn't seem to have the mastery on the champion that I've come to expect from him.
I understand what you mean by that. And I think part of why it looks that way is to do with the champion. You don't pick Orianna to say, I'm going to dominate before 20 minutes and basically win the game. It's not as flashy as a LeBlanc. This is a champion that has fairly few bad lane matchups, but at the same time doesn't crush many either. So you're waiting for the team fight prowess. And Giants, they've only found themselves in a situation where they could fight once or twice. So Knight may very well still have the ability to impact the game. He's going to get caught out here, though.
Knight's going to get jumped on. Shockwave is available this time around.
Dead.
Hustlin is gone. See, when you got that much damage, nobody stands in your way.
Yeah, nobody really can afford to.
All right, Maxwell gets pulled back this time round. Knight telling me to shut up as he double teams the Memento to kill Maxwell.
Well, Knight, I mean, didn't get the kill off that, so you can still, you can say
no,
didn't show his
that was a good play.
No, I know,
I'll accept it. I'll accept it.
But that is the thing, is we've seen him on champions like this still look flashy, right? When Vlad was a thing, his Vladimir looked scary, even just in the earlier parts of the game as well. Team fighting, he became a monster, so that's what I want to see from Knight.
Yeah, I want to see how Giants continue to claw back. They're still 6,000 gold down, but stress, 2 dragons to their name. Where do they go with this? I mean, it's so clear that Hustlin, Memento, and Heq, well, anybody but Flaxish won't be able to stand toe-to-toe with ROCCAT for very long. So how do they come back from this massive deficit?
Well, catching Wadid has been a good way so far. A couple of the engages have been all about at least starting the fight on Karma. Only one has resulted in Karma's death, but still is a good target to pick. I mean, Shannon has a spell shield. Betsy's difficult to kill. Maxwell, we've seen them try and kill a couple of times, but ROCCAT kind of just hang on through a lot of those fights. So either catching Karma or Rumble is a good way to start fights for Giants. And then you spoke about the damage of those Infernal Drakes. It's able to kind of pile everything back on top of ROCCAT.
One thing I want to talk about ROCCAT in terms of like the youthfulness of the squad, they had a huge gold lead from very early on, and the only inner turret that is down or has been applied any pressure at all is in the bottom lane, and that was thanks to Hyanin and Wadid, and that was because Giants were top. The long story, summarized, ROCCAT have not shown they know how to push their vision line and apply further pressure because it took so long to get that mid-outer turrets.
It did, although that's another one of these styles where Orianna has that benefit because it's difficult to push her in. Defensive threat from Shockwave is always there, but you are right in the way that they're not pushing advantages. They're not continually looking to get deeper into the Giants' jungle. They have got decent vision control on the top side, but they haven't really been able to find a lot of targets for Maxlore in this game at all because, I mean, he can't really go on a Maokai, he can't go on a Nautilus all that effectively on his own or with only one person, so what should be you know, a scary area of the map for Giants is easily controlled for them right now. They have decent ways with the Hawk shot of checking patches of vision control as well, so Giants just aren't falling for the trap a whole lot.
No, they're not. Trap is being set, ROCCAT positioning vision around the dragon. A minute to go until Infernal, so I gonna use my caster sensors and predict something happening around Infernal Dragon. At least I certainly hope so, because look at that line of vision. ROCCAT really committing to this next Infernal Drake.
Theoretically, there's no way that ROCCAT shouldn't get this. Like, with that vision control, with their lead, the only thing they'd have to be afraid of is Giants actually team fighting them, and considering ROCCAT's mobility, their ability to deny fights as well with the equalizer, cut off entrance paths. Kianan spell shields up the arrow. There's one tool that Giants would be liking in 25 seconds when that dragon's up that is no longer available.
Absolutely.
But Giants have now set up a couple of wards, which means Flaxish can look to TP in behind if he ends up recalling out before this fight, but he's fairly healthy himself and recently bought, so he doesn't need to TP if he doesn't want to.
This might be an overreach, but I feel like you would not want to fight ROCCAT's team composition right now.
No.
Not only because of their team composition, but because of the advantage they built up. Kianan, left alone in that mid lane, needs to be a little careful, because now all of a sudden, ROCCAT are split up. Max Law, thrill of the hunt, where is the target? Equalize onto the back line. Memento's getting melted down. He needs to run away already. Flaxish gets the heal from Redemption. That was Hustler that cast it. Memento on the Void Assault, defensively trying to get away.
Betsy
cannot do so. Flaxish still on the front line. Kianan's looking for a target. Rune Prison's going to come out shortly. Let's see, engage onto Betsy. 4 members of Giants trying to take him down. Seraphs buy some time. HiQ is getting melted. Foxy takes him down with a flame spitter, but Betsy dies for the price. It's a 2-for-1, and the dragon is still alive.
Shockwave's still there.
Is very cheeky with this recall. Not going to get interrupted, but it will get delayed. Hustlin forced to back away at the threat. Teleport from Foxy, and this will allow the dragon, as predicted, team fight at Dragon, and ROCCAT win it.
Good prediction, Trevor. You're able to see the future. Let me know what the numbers are for this week. It'll be great. At this point, ROCCAT, though, they took a fight that was a little 50-50. The equalizer from Faxi was good into the backline, zones out the carries for a long, long time in this fight. You can see HiQ getting burnt down as well. Memento just can't do anything with Betsy chasing him down. The important thing here is look at where HiQ is in the back of this fight. HiQ knows that they don't want the rest of this fight if they can help it. Kianan is blocking him away. Hustlin has to come back with Knight, and it means Flaxish is on his own. Flaxish goes incredibly aggressive here, and it kind of ends up evening some aspects of the fight, but with HiQ and Faxi not able to take out Faxi, it means Giants just have to fall all the way back, because Rumble comes with a TP back in.
So much damage.
After nearly dealing 5.
Remember, just before that fight broke out, HiQ used the arrow onto Kianan. It came alive right at the end of the fight. And even though he caught Foxy, it didn't matter, because he was overheating and just melted him, even through the stun. That's why it was almost 5.5k. 30 minutes into the game, and ROCCAT can continue to grow this lead. Over 7,000 gold, they've got the kill advantage, still only 4 towers. So now the expectation is push further, and if you can find a kill onto a solo target, this is a mistake from Flaxish that is potentially going to hurt them. Rest of Giants, though, they're making a beeline for Baron.
They've already committed onto this Baron as well. They are rushing it. No, they're not. That's I was going to say, I was expecting it lower than 9k health when we looked.
Baron is going to get tagged a little bit. Betsy's able to survive for a while.
Coming out.
Redemption comes down. Kianan's running them down on the hunt. He's just going to keep chasing. Betsy looking for more. That's a good burst of damage. Shockwave will get blocked by Seraphs at least a little. Maxwell can take the blast cone, and he does. But now he's got 3 to find. He's going to get forced away. Faxi used the equalizer earlier, and the Electro Harpoons don't find a target. So Giants and Baron players thwarted, but have they opened it up for ROCCAT?
Yeah, they have opened it up somewhat here, at least to clear the vision out very easily. The Honey Fruit has been taken down by Maxwell, so he's got some of that health back. Memento is going to look for the steal. He's got Edge of Night, which will get absorbed by
Just a
Rumble.
little,
Can he
so
jump
much damage,
in?
so much damage. They've
They've
stopped
held
on
it.
Baron. Fuxy, he's used the hourglass. 1200. Goes
He
in.
stole it.
It's stolen again. Another Baron steal. At what cost? Flaxish is down, as well as Memento, but they get 2 kills as well.
It was nearly a good hold at 1700 health on the Baron. Memento. Actually, the damage that came from Hikyu onto Faxi was pretty significant in the setup to that Baron play, because it meant that Faxi had to Zhonya's himself and stop putting out the damage against the jungler. We'll see how Memento ended up stealing it away.
So, Giants get themselves a breath of life. Mid-game team fights is one of the areas they've looked strongest and stressed. This was that replay. Rumble on Kha'Zix.
Rumble on Kha'Zix, you can see in comes Hikyu for a little extra damage on Faxi, forces the Zhonya's out, and as they jump in, Memento is able to get the smite down. Maxwell was trying to get it himself. There was a level advantage for Memento as he jumped in and gets the steal. Just barely.
Just barely indeed. And as of course, Betsy's dad in the audience, watching ROCCAT, looking to come back from a heavy-handed loss in game 1. But they've got off to a very, very good start in game 2, and this Baron play all of a sudden swings control in favor of Giants. It swings momentum in favor of the squad with the 1-0 advantage.
Giants managing to recoup some of their deficit. Faxi finds Flaxish.
All right, Ash Arrow just goes a little bit wide. Flashes for flashes. All of a sudden, ROCCAT have engaged. On the hunt comes down. Memento's
dead.
Blown up. That was thanks to Betsy. Rune Prison down. Maxwell's going to jump forward. Remember, Rengar was given away, was allowed through. Boomerang Blade from Hyun, and he's flying into the fight. Knight has got the shockwave available in a very good position, and just like that, ROCCAT turn around.
Yeah, turn it around with one pick. You mentioned Knight's shockwaves. It's been a little while since we've seen a good shockwave out of Knight. The last couple of fights have not really offered him the positioning on it. He hasn't got the ball on Memento a couple of times. And ROCCAT back away. Elder Drake 40 seconds away. And they already have themselves one Infernal and a Mountain. So if they can get the added benefit on top of that, that would go a long, long way for ROCCAT of evening the series up.
That would be a decider game for the last series of week 2 to, step back and go all the way back to the beginning of the series. We touched on this. ROCCAT and Giants both 0-2 in the spring split. And ROCCAT desperately trying to improve upon a very slow start to the series. That game 1 was very brutal.
Oh, yeah.
And this game actually showed it. There's a depth of character to bounce back from a beating that hard and actually turn it back around. The team composition allows it, though.
Yeah, I prefer the draft out of ROCCAT this time. A lot of it is the fact that Giants gave over the Rengar.
Yes.
Gave them a lot more options. ROCCAT, I think, when they prioritized a little differently, saying, okay, well, we want the Karma and Rise on phase 1, kind of threw the teams for a little bit of a loop, but
now we find out, Stress. Now we find out whether tanks versus damage is better in whose hands. Because there's no front line here for ROCCAT. They're looking for a target. Edge of Night from Memento will buy some time. Hustlin seems to be the man. Redemption comes down. That's a pretty good equalizer. That locks Hustlin and Knight out. Betsy's forced to run away. Flaxish still in the front line. He's down! Dead. He's killed! Hikyu found him! Memento's looking for more and will not be able to do it. But the front line has been shredded. Flaxish goes down 1 for 1.
1 for 1 in the fight. Hyanan, the critical member of ROCCAT that ended up dying. Betsy thankfully has enough damage to take over well into this game. 36 minutes, level 18. He has enough damage that he is a significant threat to the rest of this lineup. So the fact that Hyanan died was good for Giants, but it's not enough to win the fight outright.
No, it is not. Equalizer available in 22 seconds. Teleport is up for Fuxi and for ROCCAT, and the Elder Dragon. It is so tempting. Every time a dragon has been up, a fight has broken out, and you can see Giants now starting to back away. but it feels like they'll be going there very shortly.
And this is how Hyanan ended up getting caught out. So already having to avoid where the ball was for that shockwave. You can see Hyanan trying to get into the fight, trying to tidy up just some of the damage here, but gets pulled in finally. We were talking about that shockwave from Knight. This time Hyanan wasn't able to avoid it. Didn't have that spell shield by the looks of it, and ROCCAT traded 1-for-1 on the fight with Betsy picking up Flaxish on the backside.
Yeah, Foxy's Rumble's been doing such a good job this game. It was Maxlaw that played with him, noticed him a little bit in Flex Q, and brought it to ROCCAT's attention that this is a guy that could be on the squad. Thrill of the Hunt's been used by Maxlaw. He's looking for a target, and not going to find one just yet.
Actually times out right as they head down towards the Elder. They aren't committing to it yet. ROCCAT still have their mid-outer tower 38 minutes into this game, which is denying Giants any kind of ability to push back every time they pick up anything in a fight. You can see still very healthy on that tower. It will die insanely quickly if it gets touched. Here they go.
Equalizer and all the hunts are used. Flaxish is trying to buy some time. Ashara onto her, did depth charge onto Hyanan. Frontline has been killed though. There's so much damage from ROCCAT. Hustlin is killed, looking to run down more. Betsy is gonna send Knight golden. The hourglass buys a few seconds. The shockwave can't even complete. And Giants are sent to the bottom lane for their lives. ROCCAT now looking at the base of Giants.
Yeah, ROCCAT not even looking for some kind of Realm Warp play to take down the low health members of Giants. They want to deal critical damage to the base, maybe even start taking Nexus towers, but look at it, the Elder Drake is still available for them should they want it. 5 versus 3 for the next 20 seconds means ROCCAT needs another minion wave to come through if they want to push further. ROCCAT, Thrill of the Hunt has been popped. Memento pops Edge of Night in response.
Yeah, absolutely need to throw that one down. The Nexus turret's gonna fall so quickly. The amount of damage is crazy. Maxlaw shuts down Hiku in an insta-gib. And despite Memento's best efforts, the Nexus is left exposed. ROCCAT win the first game of Spring 2017. It's game 3 time, Stress.
It is.
Giants stomp game 1. ROCCAT mostly stomp game 2.
I don't think Giants are going to let ROCCAT have that Rengar in game 3. Maxlaw looking completely different this game. Betsy feeling very comfortable on the rise as well. It was a better game out of ROCCAT. Still a fairly slow-paced game, but you could see that they got their advantage and continue to push their lead.
Slow mid-game, I think. You know, like early game really was pretty good. I liked what ROCCAT were doing.
Yeah.
And I like how they used their team composition, but it just took too long to push that advantage. And I think that's something that the support staff, we saw Grabs, we saw Freddy backstage, they have to address with the guys.
They do. Those kinds of things aren't unfortunately going to be fixed in between a game 2 and a game 3. So likely ROCCAT, if they can get the same kind of lead, if they're against an Ashe and a Nautilus and a Maokai and a Orianna, you name it, these champions that are great if you make the wrong engage. If they're up against that kind of lineup, we're likely to see the same kind of stall, but ROCCAT did get the lead very effectively.
Yeah, they really did. And I think the scaling composition on the sides of Giants hurt them. You know, it took too long for them to come into power and allowed ROCCAT to win. So we're going to game 3, and our final series of the Week the Analyst Desk has more on how ROCCAT brought it back.
Thank you very much, Quick Shot. Of course, our first big question here has to be, you gave away the Rengar, but what did you get in return on the side of Giants?
Well, not a lot. And I think that's the big question mark here. I feel like the reason they gave up Rengar was because they trust so much in Memento and Kha'Zix that they actually felt like no matter what we get in the first rotation, as long as they get Rengar and we can safely get our main jungle pick, Memento can carry. That obviously wasn't the case because like they got Maokai Ashe. That's not really a huge advantage.
Maybe they just overvalued the Maokai because it seems to be kind of a flavor pick right now, the Maokai just having a really strong team composition, but the Rumble did actually quite find into it. So yeah, I would also question why to give up the Rengar if you don't get something powerful in return.
And do you agree with banning Poppy then? Because in the second ban phase, they obviously target top laners. They banned Fiora, which I think that does make a little bit of sense. You're maybe afraid she might snowball the lane and she gets like late game. But banning Poppy I feel like you playing Poppy Maokai top lane is perfectly fine. Rumble was left open. It's actually a matchup or a pick that I have wanted to see much more of, like, for a lot of time now. And it was extremely impactful for Foxy in this game. Probably more impactful than Giants had actually expected.
I think there are just so many picks right now open for top lane that do fine into Maokai that it doesn't value actually giving the Rengar for the Kazakhs.
Exactly.
Maybe that's gonna change a little bit in the future, like with like some buffs or nerfs, or maybe somebody figures something great out. But right now we just see the Maokai, especially also team composition-wise, it just doesn't work. He goes in with the W, and then he expects his backline to follow. But if there's a Rengar on you with ultimate pressure, there's really not much you can do.
You just kind of look back and your backline is dead, and Rengar's kind of like waving at you.
Exactly, and then Maokai just stands there alone without backline, and then you're just a tree.
I mean, it wasn't just the Rengar either, though. It feels like there were a ton of mistakes coming in from the Giants side. And as we look at our first replay here, I want to pull this one up because overstep, once again, overconfidence, it feels like from Giants, as we see pretty much a textbook collapse.
Yeah, earlier in the day, Sheep and I were talking about like mid lane control and how important it is to basically set up almost every single play in League of Legends. And this is another case where ROCCAT had pushed out mid and they're already moving. You can see Yanin and Vedit are already on the way down to the bottom lane. So Giants should never even be here. They can't push out the lane. We can already roll the clip because the fight in itself is very easy to win for ROCCAT. The problem simply lies in Giants actually pushing out the bot lane without a turret and without mid lane control, because then you will get roamed on like this and you will just die. And it's very easy kills for ROCCAT to pick up.
Clear 5 versus 3, and it's like one of the replays where generally you really like to show those highlight team fights, but that is just very easy kills. So that actually the macro play is way more important, where you fight 5 versus 3, you just run ultimate dash, and everything afterwards is like very easy and straightforward.
In a perfect world, you never have to 5-on-5 team fight. You can just win by always forcing numbers advantages, and by you always out-rotating the other
team. And that's
team.
why macro game right now is so important. That is actually leading you up to those 5v5 team fights, because that's where the difference is between like a pro team and more of like an amateur team. That a pro team will always like start forcing until it's like an objective, and then try to get the optimal setup. And generally, if both teams are doing it, it's a 5v5. But if it's like another team, then at some point they will get caught and it's a 5 versus 4 or something.
Interesting as well, because it wasn't all bad for Giants. There were a few moments, a few glimmers of hope as we look back, but it feels like every time the Giants got an advantage, they just immediately threw it away. We can see it here, Caster's hyped it up. A fantastic steal coming in from Memento.
Bit of a classic. The Baron 50-50-1s, where the call for ROCCAT is Foxy can zone off the Kha'Zix so he can't jump into the pit. But because Hikyu shows up, he actually gets Foxy so low that Foxy has to use Hourglass, and that allows Memento to jump into the pit. So I think like the idea from ROCCAT is actually okay in that sense. Like, oh, Rumble will kill the Kha'Zix or force him away, but then AD carry shows up and you have to use Hourglass and it's too late. Sadly, this is then what happens. Memento, after being the hero, gets completely caught out of position and obviously get punished very quickly by ROCCAT here. So it's kind of Giant's story in this game.
Yeah.
All right. That's pretty good. Ah, never mind. That was now bad.
Well, this is kind of what Chibi brought up with the Maokai, right? It's like you can jump in and you can leap in, but suddenly the Rengar is a problem. And when the Rengar is this far ahead, the Kha'Zix is even a relevant threat. The Rengar can just jump on the Kha'Zix. No longer is it jumping about like the more vulnerable backline members. Kha'Zix is now a vulnerable backline member, and it's just going to die immediately in all those exchanges.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the biggest problems right now. If Kha'Zix is on the side of a team fight and you're just controlling the mid side, and there's a Rengar on the side, the Rengar generally has just way more pressure. That's why Rengar is such a power pick right now.
Yeah, pretty terrifying to play against. Overall, I mean, what do we want to see change here for Giants coming into Game 3 if they want to pull out the series 2-1?
I don't want to see a trade like the one we saw now. Probably high chance Giants is going to be blue side, so that trade is kind of out of the window unless they're the ones getting the Rengar.
As an update, Giants have, in fact, selected blue side coming into Game 3.
Okay, so the trade is gone now unless they get the Rengar specifically, and they will be very happy with that. I think we're going to see both teams honestly draft like a bit like here, like scaling, teamfight focused. Sivir was in this one as well, which was a good pickup for Yanin. And it's going to come down, I think, to just some of these big fights and who actually engages the fight the best.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that right now the pick and ban, nobody will take enormous risks. They haven't shown so in 2 games already of the series. They didn't leave open Camille LeBlanc, or well, the one time where they leave up open Rengar actually doesn't work out. So yeah, I think it will be more standard, normal bans, trying to get the power picks for jungle, Kha'Zix first pick, something like this, and just try to capitalize on the macro game, play the game that we have seen before, and hopefully ROCCAT so far has shown the Nocturne team comp. I think that maybe if they have other team comps prepared as well, that is the point where they can actually surprise Giants and maybe take the series. But once again, I think Giants overall has shown a little bit more strength.
Yeah, Giants may be looking favored despite a rough game overall. But up next, we'll break this tie between Giants and ROCCAT in Game 3. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.
No flash. No flash.
Rumble die, nice. Good job. If you like.
I got him.
Oh, nice.
Liza comes down, flash engage onto Foxy. He flashes away defensively. The ROCCAT squad is split. Seraphs buys some time. HQ is getting melted. Foxy takes him down with a flame spitter, but Betsy dies for the price. Damage, so much damage. They've stopped on Baron. Foxy, he's used the hourglass. 12.
Nice.
It's stolen again. Another Baron steal. Despite Memento's best efforts, the Nexus is left exposed. ROCCAT win the first game of Spring 2017.